Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jodi Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hi, I am Justin Daniels. I am a shareholder and corporate M&A and tech transaction lawyer at the law firm Baker Donaldson, advising companies in the deployment and scaling of technology. Since data is critical to every transaction, I help clients make informed business decisions while managing data privacy and cybersecurity risk, and when needed, I lead the legal cyber data breach response brigade.
And this episode is brought to you by Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. Now, I hope people are listening, of course, but some people also like to watch on YouTube. And so for anyone who goes to YouTube, oftentimes you might see maybe just Jodi Daniels in our little Zoom recording box. But today is a very special day because today it says Jodi and Justin Daniels in our little Zoom recording box. So everyone listening, you have to go to the YouTube channel to catch this episode so that you know it is not just Jodi Daniels talking in this podcast.
Until I change it to Jodi and a third round draft pick co-host to be named later.
All right. I hope you are happy. We are ready to get started now.
We are.
Has your name in the box?
Indeed it does.
All right. Off you go.
So today we have a really interesting company that's with us today to talk about some really interesting take on privacy and technology with their business. So today we have with us Arjun and Abhijay Bhatnagar, who are the co-founders of Cloaked.
Well, yeah, sorry. Thanks for having us.
We're excited to have you and talk about.
To keep explaining who Cloaked is. There's more to the intro.
Well, then I'm
gonna chop your name off this.
I've been let off the island. Really, you fired me?
Not yet. So you gotta you can.
I can redeem myself.
Why do people want to keep listening to this awesome episode?
Fair enough. So, sorry, listeners. So, as developers and privacy advocates, they have created a secure, all-in-one privacy platform to give consumers control over their personal information, past, present, and future, while helping reshape how industries access, use, and think about data.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we always like to start with understanding how people got to where they are. So can you tell us about your career journey to becoming founders?
Yeah, well, obviously, I guess I can kick us off and you can add in more detail. But letting the cat out of the bag, Abhijay and I are both brothers. So we joke from Legos to startups. We've been working our whole lives together. But I guess each of us had our own career journey, but I think both grounded in engineering and wanted to build things. I, from an early age, I think as young as 10, I started learning how to code, became an actual engineer at a company at 11, was a senior engineer by 12. I've been working my whole life in technology, kind of working through the ranks from an engineer all the way to CTO at big and small companies alike. Always been passionate around how building things, products, how it impacts lives. And so either software, hardware, or creating things physically, it's always been exciting for me. And I think building our own startup has also been a gradual journey. I'll let Abhijay share a little bit about kind of our past, but we actually sold our first company years ago, and that was Abhijay and I working together. And I think that's always been an aspect of when you build with somebody, you want to build with somebody you trust. And I think we've got a really good dynamic between how we work together and between the companies we worked at and now the companies we've been building. it's been built on years of experience developing ourselves or just technology as a whole always guiding us. But Abhijay, I'll let you turn to you.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty entwined story, so he covered a lot of it. I think similarly grew up in a very problem-solving mindset household, and we had our first startup founded when I was like 15, maybe. It all blurs now. And we exited when I was like 16 or 17, so that's quite exciting. Um, and we parted ways slightly sort of post high school for me and sort of into college, and then COVID struck. In between, I worked at a couple different companies. MITRE is a big research fund firm, did a lot of healthcare data stuff there, but COVID happened and we sort of had a nice happenstance. Well, a good silver lining to COVID was we both got brought back to our home, and one thing led to another.
And here we are today.
Here we are today.
So does that mean when you guys worked together at a company, you got hired together?
Yeah, go ahead, Abhijay.
No, we haven't actually worked for anybody else together.
Okay.
Technically, yeah, we had Arjun had a different startup in between, which I was happy for him.
I was just curious because sometimes how Jodi and I started things was through people and things we had done together. Like, oh, we'd like to see more of that. But anyway, what problem is Cloaked trying to solve from your perspective?
Yeah, it's always an interesting thing to unpack. Privacy, I think by design at this point, from big tech and governments, has become too big of a catch-all word, where everything and anything is in privacy, security is intertwined, theft is intertwined, defense, surveillance, access, ownership, fundamental democracies, all these things kind of connect together. And I think that's been a big thing for us is learning around how do we unpack the word for people. I think what we've learned is that the problem that Cloak is trying to solve is think about at every layer of kind of what we call the stack, how do we make a meaningful impact for someone's life? And what that means and looks like is first thinking about security. What is the safety of the individual, of the family, the vectors of attack? This can be in forms of tools, software that can help enable protection, encryption, stopping fingerprinting, fraud, abuse, physical kind of identification. These are ways that kind of come in and start to really identify how you could be vulnerable. So Cloak's trying to tackle that side. The next layer we talk about on top of that is something we redefine as privacy. Where does my data live? Who has access to it? What does it look like? So touching upon the points of where everything about you is everywhere, how do you have some sense of control? We want to play a role in that side. But it comes down to what is the problem that Cloak is trying to solve? Well, the answer is we're trying to create what we call comfort. It's that cognitive point in which everybody understands this problem. It's that moment, whether you're a VP of engineering or my own mother, it's when you ask somebody for their name, email, phone number, credit card, address, everyone starts to get that privacy is missing. And so we've started at that moment and said, how do we solve that? And then keep working our way towards this idea of making people feel safe, not spammed and annoyed, not tracked wherever they go.
Can you help share a little bit more? How does it work? And
Yeah.
you emphasized a little bit of the concern that people are starting to have. So it's kind of the why do I need to cloak my identity? And then how do you actually do that?
For sure. I think when it comes down to it, the why cloaking identity, we've done now some fun aspects of this, but if you check out on our website, you can enter your phone number and realize there's so much data tied to you from just one data point. That number that you've had maybe for your whole life or had one or two. And that ties back to you, your personal information, your family's information, passwords, emails, finances, all of this with the same information you give both to the IRS and Domino's. So what we've kind of uncovered is that we are able to find a way to delete the past or clean up the past and protect the future. That's really what we're trying to do. And how we approach that is that fundamentally, we can clean and scrub your information online from data brokers, websites, social networks, things that are you put information out there. We can start taking on kind of the spam, scam, phishing. So things that are hitting you and it's either bothering you, annoying you, or actually targeting could financially compromise you. And then as AI is coming, it's making it worse. Then to now actually the cloaking of identity, which why we talk about cloaking identity is that because your one data point or phone number, email can uncover everything about you. We talk about, well, you should have unique versions of yourself, a unique email, phone number, password, and soon even credit card for Amazon, unique email, phone number, password for Uber, phone number for that cute guy at the bar, a unique email for a realtor. If we can make it simple enough, and which is what we've been continuously working on, it starts to make your life a lot more in your control. Makes it also a little easier to manage as opposed to having one massive inbox for everything, organizing your shopping behavior, your travel, communications with different people. It becomes part privacy, part organization. And I think that's kind of where this whole industry is starting to head, is that if you can create value alongside privacy, people want to be private 100% of the time. That's a little bit about how Cloak works and kind of why we're coming about it. But hopefully that helps. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of a broader theme as well. Speaking about data, speaking about privacy, it fits into this idea that people have I think it's pretty fair to say people have a fractured relationship with technology. The companies behind them, the industry behind them, the economics. There's a lot of distrust. I think part of the mission, of which privacy is a core bedrock, is how can we repair the trust between people and the technology they use. So a lot of it comes down to repairing the past, present, and future. A lot of it comes down to what are the services you use, what are the technologies you interact with, and where we are now versus where we're going to the future. Sort of all tackle problems in this realm.
So when I was on your website, and I know you've got features and you have things in development, one thing that really caught my attention was this thought around AI defense. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what exactly is that and when might we see that?
Yeah. So I think AI defense is something that we've been wanting to start talking about and concepting, get people to realize AI is inevitable now. We're seeing it in our lives. It's part of everything. Investments, dollars, companies, everyone's trying to make this really part of our everyday behavior. Now, there's the good in the workforce and the work we do. There's also the malicious actors, as we've learned about people who've sent wires by accident to the wrong parties, who've been scammers or fishers. We've seen people pretending to be family members or loved ones, trying to call, compromise, connect individuals. We know that there's deep fakes, there's pictures. There's now a lot of ways that compromise an individual. So we wanted to start taking that bit by bit and seeing how do we make value for the individual. So today, for example, in Cloak, right now you can actually spin up as many numbers if you'd like. But you can make a number for every person. So you can imagine between you two or between close family or friends, you could spin up a number that's unique to just you two. Only you two can call, text. Maybe for your own bank, you could make a number only the bank knows just between you two. And this allows for trusted communication. The person calling, texting, messaging is only that party that you gave it to. This type of idea starts to think about what a trusted relationship as a whole. And from building off of there, we want to expand into how do we detect, monitor, prevent, and even obfuscate AI attempts in your life. And so that's really kind of thematically where AI defense is headed. There's a lot of stuff to come, but even today, we're starting to talk about and highlight here are the tools to make you feel better, especially in sensitive conversations between parties. I don't know if you,
Yeah, I think Arjun touched upon this point, but a narrative to follow really is a lot of what we're doing right now is controlling the rails of the data that's created and sort of searching, identifying, and trying to remove content about you, both regularly put out, as well as content generated. I think the next interesting topic that we're doing R&D into and hopefully releasing early next year, early to mid, is this idea. Well, there's a lot of great research into how you can poison the data you have before you put it out there. One is poisoning just raw data about identifiers, but another thing is you can actually take images, videos, whatever it is, and do some small mathematical perturbations that make these AI systems significantly worse at understanding them, detecting them, generating based off of them, doing deepfakes. For the ones that get out there, it's important to see if you can find them and remove them. We're doing a lot of work with Cloak family because we think a lot of the biggest vectors are actually the close network around you. So there's a lot of thoughts on how can we build a network within your family of understanding these threat vectors beforehand, perhaps simulating them and seeing if we can get people to train themselves, a mental model to prepare for what is an unknown situation. What happens if you get a phone call, Jodi, of Justin calling you? What are you going to respond to if you don't fully know if it's them? We have some work on the family side, seeing how we can proactively rebuild habits there.
One of the common complaints people have nowadays is they can't remember their passwords to anything. How do you help if I have a number for each different person? How is it so that it is easy for me to be able to remember, well, wait, which number did I give to which person or which email did I give to which company?
Yeah. And I think you kind of gave away the answer as part of it. There's been good mental models that have been built out, like password managers, for example, where you have a password for every account. People already know how to interface, find, search, etc. So we've tapped into Cloaked is also a password manager. So you can always look up, find, and when you're in a form field, trying to log in, the email, the phone numbers, the passwords can all pop up right then and there. But in the actual text calls, emails, that's a big thing we wanted to focus on. That's why we built a lot of work here at Cloaked, where you can actually route your text right to your iMessage. You can route calls right to your phone. Emails can go right to your Gmail, and you can always reply, say CC, text back, always, or answer the call, and it'll show up as your Cloaked version of yourself. But you can keep using the existing stuff you've got. A lot of our people in our space and companies done really good work. They often require both parties to have the app. You can think of some famous encrypted chat apps that you may know about. Those often required both parties having the app to be able to chat. And that's really difficult because then you're not getting everyone you know to go ahead and engage. So we wanted to make sure Cloak would work with the stuff you've got today. We don't want to change that behavior. So you always have a way to look things up, but also a way to engage without having to change what you do day to day.
That makes sense. It's all about trying to make it work for people because I just know how challenging it is right now to figure out even, email. Lots of people will create multiple different emails, but they don't know which one they gave to whom. And being able to help solve that makes a lot of sense.
I think the idea is that we would think privacy should work with you and almost for you, not in a way where you have to do a million things just to have some semblance of control.
So another thing when I was out learning a little more about your company was I wanted to understand a little bit better about how does Cloak secure your data using a siloed database? Because I know that is around, preparing yourselves if someone tries to access or a breach, how you're mitigating that. So could you elaborate for our audience a little bit more about what that's about?
Yeah, and Abhijay, feel free to add on to things I say here, but a really core aspect of Cloaked is that what happens if Cloaked, knock on wood, is breached, or what happens when people are putting all this information in Cloaked? Well, that's the big thing we wanted first. That's the first thing we worked on as a business, was that making sure that type of conversation is something that we can easily have. Well, something may happen at Cloaked, but how to not compromise the user? So how we built Cloaked fundamentally is that the architecture Cloaked, we have our own infrastructure, our own database, all the data powering Cloaked, but all the user's personal information, their data, is separate from our own infrastructure. We have basically a unique database spun up for every single user. It's part of our vision that you should truly own your own data. So in our system, it's just a pointer to where your data lives, and that theoretically could be anywhere. It could be self-hosted, could be your own home, it could be your phone. Now, we want to make it such the user can move that data, and that's on our roadmap. But the idea is it's your data to begin with. We want to make sure it's yours. We're here to just facilitate and help move the data where you want it to go and help protect you with the emails, phones, cards, etc., that stand in front of that data wherever you're transacting or signing up or communicating. And so that kind of relationship is how we worked. And obviously, talk about security around multi-vector attacks and why this is important. But there's also a meaning to this, because when you make it such that this way, now to compromise a user, you have to hack Cloaked and every user separately, as opposed to, we know a famous password manager that got breached, where they have everything about someone in one system, which leads to compromising everything about the individual. I don't know if I would add anything about that.
Last point is really important, is that the keys are in the customer's hands, and the data is not like the data storage itself is not accessible to us without the customer consent. And customer actually providing us keys, and then all the data, everything about it. It's all about the customer having what they have locally.
Yeah, it's not just consent based. Yeah, if they have to put their password or derive from the password to access any data, and if we don't have that, then we can't really either decrypt or see any of this information.
Now, I know we want everyone here to go and get a Cloaked account. At the same time, there are other wonderful privacy and security measures that people can be taking. So, what would you offer to someone as a privacy or security tip aside from what we've been talking about here today?
I think I'm just you think of your side. I have one tip I always say is that just say no. Everything from websites to account signups to permissions, they all adapt when you give less permissions and less data. You don't have to give up everything about yourself to engage meaningfully on any technology. So if you take that mindset of not hitting OK or allow all to access everything about you, that will make a meaningful start in this whole idea of what is security, and privacy, what does this all look like? Because the big thing to highlight why that's important, you might think my bank account is safe, but if a hacker or a malicious person wants to attack you, they're not going to attack your bank right away. They'll attack that website you bought a T-shirt from, but you gave the same information you signed up with your bank account to that T-shirt company. And so the idea is that your information is really easily found from a lot of places that invest in security differently. So it's important to make sure you don't give up everything wherever you're going and start. You can start that today because everyone's looking for the latest information. So you can actually turn down that faucet pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think echoing some of his points, one with the no thing, we see privacy's mental model very similar to sort of affirmative consent in relationships. There's the five pillars: revocable, conscious, enthusiastic, verbal, ongoing. Um, I think we should really take a very sensitive mental model to yourselves on how you view the relationships around you, because there's a very blurred line between physical relationships and digital relationships, and like the digital world and the physical world, the way we are right now. I think personal privacy tip, um, great question. I think everything we want to do, we try to build into our own software, but separate from that, I think there's a lot of technology you want to use out there that's sort of out of our domain or anything like that. And for almost any technology you want to use, there's probably a different version that does basically the same thing, but doesn't have a business model generated around, selling your data to brokers or ad providers.
Those are good tips. Lots of people don't want their data sold.
So when you're not building Cloaked, what do the two of you like to do for fun?
I am a big pickleball player. I always grew up and loved tennis. Now my kind of blowing off steam has been pickleball with some friends. That's been one thing. But I think friends or kind of also just resting, seeing, traveling. I love photography, taking photos. These tend to be my kind of de-stressors and outlets, but really love getting physical activity as much as I can, and then also just going out for walks and exploring and taking photos if I'm able to.
I used to be pretty athletic, wrestling, rock climbing, that kind of stuff. I tore my shoulder, so now I'm sort of semi-retired and in my crafts era. So I'm definitely learning how to paint, music, all that kind of stuff. Um, Not as good as I'd like to be, but getting better every day. I also have two cats, and I spend basically all of my evenings with my cats, and I'm a very proud cat dad.
I love the cat dad. And you have a pickleball friend.
Indeed. Yes, I'm a squash player who plays pickleball in my free time. It's easier to do. Courts are everywhere, but they're packed.
Absolutely. I know courts everywhere, but I grew up and played tennis very seriously. But the challenge of tennis, and sounds probably even squash, is that you got to find someone who's evenly, say, similar levels. You got to book a court, and it takes a lot of time. Pickleball, you can grab your friend, your aunt, doesn't matter. People can pick up pretty quickly.
I think that's the key to its popularity is the ease of playing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, listeners, if you are also a pickleball player, here's some more friends. If you go to any of these cities, you can play too. Where can people go to connect with you and learn more about Cloaked?
Yeah. So obviously, if you make a cloak number on the spot while I tell people, but you can go to cloak.com and you can definitely do a free phone scan or sign up directly for Cloak right then and there. And the phone scan, we always say, recommends interesting. See how much information is available about you from just your phone number. Or you can make an account and get started and explore everything about Cloaked, password manager, the masking, data deletion, identity theft insurance, all in one as a solution. And what I asked Abhijit to do is kind of show you Cloaked in action. If you want to reach Abhijit directly, Abhijit can give you a Cloak number just for the audience.
Sure, yeah. There's a number I've created for you guys, 609-812-2769. You call that number, it'll reach me, text me, call me, beep me, whatever. At least until I decide to turn it off or mute it.
We'll give it a little bit of time so people can catch up and all their holiday podcasts. So I wrote the number down. It'll be in the show notes as well. And everyone can test out Cloaked, see how it works. We're so grateful that you joined us today.
Yeah, for the friendlier people, we do have an office in New York. Reach out to us. We're pretty receptive. We like to have people come in and out.
There you go. And pickleball. Friendly chat and pickleball. It's the dream come true. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.